Yo, welcome back. Welcome back to the 4Y Fantasy Football Podcast. We're back with another exciting episode. Your co-hosts, Shed, Olu, Billy, and Matt. We're here to bring you some hot fantasy football takes. You like that one, Will?
I do not.
So Will was born in Argentina, and he just told us when his parents moved to the States that they told everyone his name was Billy when he was 3. It didn't stick, though.
Did not stick. I'm so grateful.
Oh, we're bringing it to the podcast. You made a big mistake, bro. It's Billy the Kid. So anyways, we got mixed. What's that?
I said never disclose personal information on this podcast.
No. I feel like we're preachers, man. Anything that is said, it could be said at the pulpit.
Yeah. It's fodder for everything.
Yeah, but it's great to be back yet again. Before we hit the record button, Olu said something very profound. He said the next chapter of the podcast, and it's like we went through a whole football season, and now we are in the off season, where I think many of us actually really shine. So you, the listeners, are in for a treat as we walk you through the off season. 1 minute of shine. Shed, you're up first, man.
So what's very interesting is that there was no running backs that were actually tagged. This is a bad look for the position and for really dynasty running backs in general. So what does it mean for your young and up-and-coming stars nearing the end of their rookie deals? For your Breece Halls, your Travis Etienne, your Isaiah Pacheco, it means that the odds are not in their favor that they're going to have a big payday. Very, very slim. Running backs nowadays are 5 years, and they're done. From at least from the ability to actually make money and be a high quality fantasy production. Yes, they can still contribute. They can still be productive running back by committee, but their fantasy value is going to start to decline in year 4. Running backs history that have faltered have been like your Dalvin Cook after a few years, your Zeke, and your Le'Veon Bell. So I want to say the only sign a running back if you're a running back away and if you're a potential Super Bowl team. See Christian McCaffrey and the San Francisco 49ers. Those are really the few times where you want to sign a running back long term.
Yeah. It's wild to think that the Super Bowl winner from the last 2 years started a running back that they drafted in the 7th round. It's like the guy who's getting beat up the most on offense is the most undervalued player. When you think about it, it doesn't make a lick of sense, right?
It's ridiculous.
Well, I think if you are a running back after you've played out your rookie contract, if it's 4 years or then they pick up your 5th year
option,
pay
some money
for your second contract, do not worry about any loyalty. You get the biggest contract they will give you, no matter the team, because that's it. Yep. After that second contract, that may be it for your career, or you're going to be playing on a minimum contract by the time you're 28, 29. So that's the reality.
Walking around with K knees, right, Olu?
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, guys, and here's a kicker for all running backs. I was doing some research, and Miles Sanders, he signed last year with the Panthers, a 4-year, $25 million deal, which isn't really an expensive deal, right, for running backs per se. Yet it was still costly to the Panthers because he only had 432 yards in 16 games with a career low of 3.3 yards per carry. Right. This is why teams are going to be hesitant to give that contract to your late 20s running back.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of that, I think one of the worst things that can happen to a running back is being taken in the first round in today's NFL. So, for example, we have Trey Henderson, who was supposed to be the top running back of this year from Ohio. He decided to go back to school for another year, in which case he will be turning 22, almost 23 by the new league year next year. So, and he will probably be taken in the first round. And I'm like, wow, you just shot yourself in the foot. So that means if he gets taken in the first round, he has 5 years option contract, and the franchise tag, that's 6. So by then he will be 29. Bad move.
Well, yeah, but it's actually smart to go back because now they have the NIL. So these guys are getting paid while they're in college.
But not as much as an NFL contract.
No, it's not.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's truth to that. But let's keep moving. Olu, 1 minute of shine, man.
1 minute of shine. So there was a time when football season ended, and I was like, "Oh man, the football season ended." And then my wife looked at me and said, "Football never ends in this house." So I was like, well, that is true because we just entered another exciting time for football, which is the combine, seeing what skilled players run, where they rank, how fast they are, how quick they move up the ladder of draft stock, how quick they fall, all the slander of trying to make quarterbacks not look as good as they actually are. And then the actual draft day, being able to see them with their I love those things. I love seeing them in draft day. I love seeing how they do in OTAs, how they do in mini camp, rookie camp, and then to see if what undrafted rookie made the 53-man roster. So I feel like it's an exciting time, although lengthy, but not exciting nonetheless. Oh, I missed the free agency. I missed the free agency portion of things, the trading. So this is quite an exciting time in football, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Will, go for it, man.
Was that
All
shot
right,
enough
my
for you?
1 minute to shine is just about one specific player. I'm getting really excited about Malik Neighbors. You know, the Dynasty League that we're in together, I've got the third pick. If Olu doesn't mess things up for me or himself, I should have the first chance at Malik Neighbors. And the more I watch him, the more I look at this guy, he's got the size, the strength, the speed. They are throwing around the idea of Jamar Chase 2.0 coming out of LSU, a type of guy who can make the catch, and then he's just dangerous after the catch. The field just opens up. And I will even go so far as to say the reason why Jaden Daniels is
Oh
being
boy.
talked about as being drafted in the top 3 or 4 of the NFL draft is because of Malik Neighbors. He made Jaden Daniels look better than he ever had in his college career. And I think that's the type of receiver he is. So I'm getting very excited about this player.
I think we need to do a segment where we do a deep dive to really have Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Neighbors and see who's truly the better receiver. It's close. It's
So
really
I
close.
know. I hear people throwing that out. I'm not going to go that far. Marvin Harrison should not get to me at the third pick. Okay. That would be a travesty because
Well,
he's
if it goes to the
6'4" and he does
if it
not
goes to,
drop anything.
if it goes to the Giants and Neighbors goes to the Chargers, he's coming to you.
Harrison's good. He's
Oh,
not making it past the Cardinals, man. He's not making it
Yeah,
past the
yeah. I'm
no,
Cardinals.
just
the Cardinals better take him. Yeah, you've got your quarterback already in Kyler. Go give him a generational receiver.
You know, for my 1 minute of shine, I was like, what am I going to talk about? But when you brought up Malik Neighbors, so I'm excited about Malik Neighbors, and obviously, you know, a little spoiler, we're going to be featuring rookies in every episode as we go forward for the next few months. But so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But a guy that I'm actually starting to fade, that's sliding down my board, and I hate saying it, is Brian Thomas Jr. Like, you would
Oh,
ask me a
wow.
week or two ago. I'd be like, "Oh, I'm in on Brian Thomas Jr. I like him. I like his size." But then the more I research him, I'm more like, I mean, just even, and I'm not even going to say advanced statistics, but even just at the face value, when you go from his sophomore year, going from 31 catches, 361 yards, and 5 touchdowns to then 68 catches, 1,177 yards, and 17 touchdowns, it's like, whoa,
you
it's tough
don't.
for me to jump on board with this guy.
You're saying you don't like it?
I'll be honest, not as much. No, not as
He's
much.
You're saying that you're worried that it was a fluke.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I need
Interesting.
to do, but this is what I will admit. I've got to do more research on him to look at some more advanced statistics. So, but at face value, I'm starting to fade him.
I
But
mean,
anyways,
for me, I feel like, yeah, we could look at all the stats. You know, it's college. You're going to have guys that go like for 23 touchdowns. For me, I watch them play. I use my eye test.
absolutely.
He's going to be a legit receiver in this league.
I think the thing that I have to look at, the thing that we have to look at when evaluating players coming out into the league is you've got to look at not just the numbers, you're correct, but also who did they play with? Were they playing with other NFL talent? And then who did they play against? Were they playing against NFL talent? Because if you get a guy who's getting astronomical numbers, but they're playing against Providence College, it's like,
I mean, come on.
what is that?
Right, but LSU, he's facing NFL cornerbacks.
He's playing with NFL players against NFL players.
But this is what I do, right?
Does say something.
This is what I do. I just don't look at. Obviously, I look at what conference SEC. I look at against Alabama, all this top defense. Then I watch them how they catch the ball, how they get the. So it's really how they play the game versus their number. Like I don't care. Like for example, Jelly Hyatt last year, all his games was just go routes.
Absolutely.
Like, what am I going to do with that? I can't do anything with that.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that. But even with my Brian Thomas take, the little bit I see, I don't see him high pointing the ball using that 6'4" frame. I see him body catching it. Some people call him Some people call him a basket catcher. And so I'm just like, gives me Quentin Johnston vibes,
Oh, man.
Anyways,
I won't go.
Why is he Quentin Johnson just catching strays? Well, we weren't saying anything. We weren't saying anything about this man.
We've already labeled him a bust. Anyways, let's move on. We got a great show. What we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about our top free agent running backs. Then we're going to go and do some rookie profiles. And then we're going to do a pre-combine rookie mock draft. Is that cool, guys? Did I miss anything?
That's right. Sounds
okay,
good.
You got it.
Let's jump into it. So, in our last episode, we featured 5 of the top free agent receivers. We had some great discussion about them. And this free agent class of running backs, I mean, wow. You're looking at Josh Jacobs, who was a league winner just 2 years ago, who led the league in rushing. You're looking at Derrick Henry, who has been unreal in this league for the last 5 years or so. Saquon Barkley, who came into the league dubbed a generational talent. Tony Pollard, who was hyped up by Billy on our podcast who was supposed to lead the league in rushing this past year.
Terrible disappointment.
Right. And then you got other guys like Eckler and Swift. I mean, this is a pretty stacked free agent class. We're going to discuss these guys. First, let's talk about Josh Jacobs. Last season, 13 games, 233 yards, 233 carries for 805 yards. That was only 3.45 a carry. Career low for him. 37 catches for another 296 yards. Here's what's interesting about Josh Jacobs. He was number 1 in the league in opportunity share. He took 84.9% of the carries when he was available. That's the definition of a bell cow running back. But to then still have 3.45 yards a carry, highly inefficient. His projected contract value is that he will sign a 3-year, $36 million deal. But the question I have is, has Las Vegas moved on? They seem pretty confident with Zamir White.
Yeah.
Honestly. And we know the running back market is, I mean, when was Josh Jacobs drafted? He was drafted 2019, right? If memory serves me correct, he was drafted 2019.
I think that's right. Yep.
Yep, because he had the 4-year and then the 5th-year option. I think that was it.
Well, he got franchise tagged. That's what it was. They did not pick up his 5th-year option.
They didn't pick up the 5th year.
And then he got franchise tagged for this past year, which was his 5th year. So, but I don't think he's going back to Las Vegas because they don't even have a quarterback. I mean, they really need to be in a rebuild.
Yeah.
So they're not going to throw money at their 6th-year running back when they
only
need
dumb
to rebuild.
Organizations do that.
Yeah, New York Football Giants.
Exactly.
But the report out there is the coach AP is really like Josh Jacob and he wants the offense to run through him because all they need is a quarterback. They have all the offensive weapons they need, to be honest. All they really need is a quarterback.
They have their offense is pretty good when you think about it. I mean, if Devontae Adams comes back to Vegas, because there has been rumors of him leaving, but if he comes back, what's that?
He's under contract. Where's it going?
Right.
Trade him.
He's coming back. No,
Yeah, well,
I don't
yes,
think they're going to.
he's going to come back. I'm just saying there had been rumors, but I mean, no, I mean, 13 games, 233 carries, 805 yards. I mean, number one in opportunity shares. We know that defensive-minded coaches like running the ball, physical game. But the question I have, like I said, is have they moved on from Josh Jacobs? Because they can run the ball. They can bring in a guy, you know? What do you think, Shed?
Yeah, I definitely agree they're gonna go look elsewhere, at least younger, or they won't go ahead and sign a running back to a big contract because Tom Telesco, the former GM of the Charger, who is a new GM, the current GM now of the Raiders, he was able to find guys like Austin Eckler, right? So like he's probably hoping that he can go in the well again and find a marquee guy later on in the draft. That way they don't have to pay their current running back. And to somebody's point, I think Will or Matt, you were saying that why go ahead and put money into a running back when your team is not going to be good? You're just going to waste, right? So it's almost like your money should go somewhere else. But
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no. So I was just saying. So I think Tom Telesco, he's going to. I don't think that's his thing, right? To go ahead and sign him, even though Antonio Pierce wants him to be there. There's really no point of him being there as far as production with the team overall.
Yeah, and what I want to shed light on, let's go back really quick to actually Josh Jacobs, the player, though, because let's not forget, like, yeah, this past season he was highly inefficient, but let's not forget in 2022 he rushed for 1,653 yards.
He
He
did.
ran for 4.9 a carry, 12 touchdowns. He led the league in rushing. So,
right, but it was the curse of 300, right? That
sure,
he had
yeah,
over 300 carries and then he fell off the next year.
yeah, he had 340 carries. So what are you guys' thoughts on his fantasy value next season, regardless to where he goes? Is he going to be a bell cow again?
So
I think so.
let me
I
throw
think
this
so.
out there real quick on his value, because what I have been seeing about Josh Jacobs is that most likely he's not going back to Las Vegas. And the two teams that have come up are Green Bay, if they move on from Aaron Jones and do some kind of, post June 1st cut, or the Bengals, because they might move on from Mixon. If he ends up with a team like the Packers or the Bengals who are committed to the run and run the ball effectively, he could be top 10 again in fantasy. I don't think he's going to be top 10 in Las Vegas because they just won't have the offense around him to take the focus off of the run. They don't have a quarterback. That's the thing for me. They do not have a quarterback. So a lot
Yeah,
could change,
yeah.
but
So
I don't.
if he
Yeah,
goes
I don't
somewhere with
see
a
him on.
quarterback, you're buying.
Yeah, I would. I'd buy him. I think it could be top 10.
This is what I think about Josh Jacob. I think Josh Jacob is still a top 10 quarterback because
Running
he
back,
only
yeah.
played 13 games last year. Like, bear in mind, he played only 13 games and still came out with 805 yards. That's pretty impressive. Okay. And then that means he had 4 more games in play. So if he played those 4 games, he could have gone 1,200 yards at that point. So he's pretty efficient. It's pretty effective. So
No. But Olu, he ran for only 3.45 a carry though.
let me
In
see.
those games, in those 13 games, he got the rock 233 times. So he was getting the ball a lot.
233. Okay, but the point is, he's still like, if you give him a, he doesn't. Okay, let's put it this way: he crossed 100 yards multiple times last year. Okay, and remember when they first started the game with what's his name, Josh McDaniels? I had no idea what that man was doing. I had zero idea. He didn't give Josh Jacobs the ball. He barely gave him the ball. So, which is so weird because that's what he knows. Anyway, he didn't give him the ball. But now, when as soon as AP got in there, he featured Josh Jacob heavily. So Josh Jacob is still one of the top running backs in this league. He never showed us a sign of slowing down. And this is with 13 games. If he goes to a new team next year, for example, if he goes to the Texans next year, he will be a major problem, a major problem. Because I tried to tell you guys this last year, with the top running back for the Texans was Rex Buckhead, right? Yeah, like one of the top was Rex Buckhead. Rex Buckhead really did good in that Texan offense. So fast forward to
Wait.
wait,
Hold
What year
on.
are you talking about?
Hold on.
No,
We we
it was
cannot.
Singletary.
no, you
Rex
guys are not.
Burkhead.
You guys are not listening. The year before, it was Rex
I
Buckhead,
know. I'm
and
saying
yeah,
we cannot let this slide. To talk about Rex Burkhead as a quality running back, we have to pause. We have to
No,
address
no, I
it.
don't think he's saying he was a quality running back. I
oh, I
think
never
what
said
are
it
you
was a
saying? Hold
quality
on.
running back.
All right, I'll
I'm
let you
saying,
finish your thought.
yes, please, yes. What I'm saying is, and I told you that if a running back like Rex Buckhead can have a career year with the Texans, right? And this is when the Texans were really, really bad, right? Now we have Devin Singletary, who also had a great year with the Texans last year. So if we set a caliber of Josh Jacob in that offense, he will be such a top fantasy player to be sought
Got
after
it. Got it.
in an
Okay.
offense like that.
I'll
Yeah,
say so. So yeah. So okay. So then what happened to Pierce? So that's the first thing, right? I mean, those two running backs had
okay.
quality year.
Damon
So
Pierce
so
was plagued by injury last year, so
okay.
I don't. There aren't two. There at most teams. Josh Jacob will go on. He will automatically become the lead back. Mostly,
Yeah.
Yes,
most.
he needs to.
Yeah,
He needs to.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And,
Well,
and then just for context, he was 24th in rushing last year. So 24. So you're saying that he can jump to top 10. But anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Okay. Well, we gotta put it in context. 24th with only 13 games, guys. 13 games.
yeah,
Right.
he
That
wasn't
matters.
Okay.
he wasn't as efficient though, but he's got the talent, obviously. Obviously. I mean, 84.9% of the team's carries is a lot. Let's keep moving though. Let's go to Derrick Henry next. Derrick Henry played in 17 games, 30 years old. He's a 30-year-old back, played in 17 games. Last season, 280 carries for 1,167 yards. However, of all the years he's been in the league, he rushed for a career low 4.17 yards per carry. Still found pay dirt 12 times and caught the ball 28 times for 214, which is good for him. Everyone assumes he's done in Tennessee. He waved goodbye to the fans after the last game. His projected contract that he'll sign is 2 years, $20 million. Who would like to open the discussion on Derrick Henry and his value going forward?
Yeah,
Billy the Kid.
I'll kick us off here. So as our resident Titans fan, I can confidently report he's not coming back. It's a sad day. He has been kind of the face of the franchise for the last half decade plus. And we had 3, playoff appearances with him, won the division. It was a great thing for the Titans. We don't often get moments like this that we've had with Derrick Henry. But what's wild is those 280 carries, that was first in the league last year. Last year was just a low year for rushing. He was first in the league with 280. No one had more than that. No one had 300 carries last year. And he was second in the league in rushing with just 1167, second most in the league.
What? That was second?
After Christian McCaffrey. And then Kyron Williams was
Sheesh.
third. Okay, so it was just a really low year for rushing. But I think he is going to get a 2-year contract because Derrick Henry is not your typical running back. We know how this man is built, okay? 6'3", 245 pounds. To be able to move like that, the way he takes care of his body, it's like the LeBron James, Tom Brady philosophy. He takes care of his body year-round, doesn't eat junk, doesn't waste time. But I actually think he's going to end up in Dallas. I think the Cowboys are desperate to make a big splashy move. They're desperate to get past the divisional round in the playoffs. And what they lacked last year with Tony Pollard was a finisher. They did not have a running back who could finish runs. So the Cowboys were finding themselves in third and short situations, goal line situations, and they couldn't push the line. I mean, they couldn't get past the sticks or get into the end zone. That was the shortfall, kind of shortcoming with Pollard. So I think they make a push for Derrick Henry. And if he goes to Dallas with that offense and the way they continue to build their offensive line, I think he'll be over 1,000 yards again, double-digit touchdowns. I mean, he was doing that last year on Tennessee with one of the worst offensive lines in football.
Worst in the league.
And just a terrible offense all around. No, there was nothing to take focus or pressure off of him. If he goes to Dallas, I think he's over 1,000 yards, double-digit touchdowns. And I think it could push the Cowboys to a championship game. I'm not saying they're going to a Super Bowl, but it could at least get them to, the third round of the playoffs. I think that would be the best fit for him if they can make the salary cap work.
Yeah, Shed, weigh in, man.
Yeah. So the only thing about the Cowboys is the Cowboys have not been free agent splash heavy. That's not their game. Plus, they have to save money for CD, for Dak, for Micah, for that defense. So they may be kind of jittery in order to pay Derrick Henry. Otherwise, I do think that is a good option. Let me throw this out there. I'll say the Chargers. With Jim Harbaugh there, right? His team historically has revolved around solid running backs. Think about Frank Gore. Think about even Blake Corum recently. Think about like even at Stanford, like a Toby Gerhardt. Those guys, right? His team, he builds his team from the inside out, right? I mean, it's not fancy, it's not splashy, but he builds solid teams from the offensive and defensive line. He has bruiser running backs, and think about what the bruiser running back with Justin Herbert. You can play fast and quick in your early months, in your September, October-ish. But when the winter gets cold, when the weather gets cold, you got to be able to run the ball. Use Derrick Henry in your November, December, and January month and make a deep playoff run. So I'm going to say San Diego or Los Angeles Chargers seems to be a good fit for him there.
I'd love to just say something. Derrick Henry is a guy who I think at the end of his career, when he hangs up his cleats, I think he'll end up being enshrined in Canton. I think he'll be a Hall of Famer. And the thing about Derrick Henry that's probably most impressive is he has defied many of odds, okay? He's rushed over 2,000 yards. We haven't even seen him have a drop-off yet. I mean, he's hitting age 30, and he was still second in the league in rushing. I mean, that's just what's so crazy to me about this guy is the guy's built like a car, like a truck. He doesn't show fatigue. As the season goes on, he gets stronger. But I would love to see a guy like Derrick Henry in a place like Baltimore. You put him somewhere with a quarterback who doesn't check down the ball. Because let's just be honest, Derrick Henry does not catch the ball well. He doesn't.
No, he's not a receiving back.
Which quarterbacks don't check the ball down? Running quarterbacks don't really check the ball down as much. You put him in a Baltimore, he's an upgrade over Gus Edwards. That's what he is. I love it. I think he would be incredible there. I think that would take that Baltimore team to the next level.
So Baltimore has historically been able to bring in veteran players and get another 1 to 2 great seasons out of them, mostly on the defensive side of the ball. But I don't know if y'all remember Justin Forsett. Y'all remember Justin Forsett, the running back? He played at Cal with Marshawn Lynch. The Ravens signed him in like the last 2 years of his career, and he had 2 great seasons in Baltimore. So they've been able to do that. That's an interesting landing spot. That's in play because I think Dobbins is not coming back. His rookie contract is over, and they're not going to bring him back with the injuries, unfortunately. But they'll need somebody else. Yes,
I would love to see Derrick Henry in an offense where the threat of the pass is potent. I would like to see him in the offense where they do not load up the box.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like at this point in his career, he deserves that. Like he's worked so hard all year. So I think someone like the Bills would be a great offense for him to go to. because that'd be a lot to carry.
Oh, golly. That'd be nasty.
And the Bills they've needed that kind of running in a way. Like they've needed that. So I would like to see him like just in a place where he will destroy the league. Like he deserves that. Like I think Houston will be great because in Houston the pass is definitely potent. He just needs somewhere where they wouldn't load up the box. I hate to say this, but Kansas City will be good for him. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah, just a place where he's allowed to do his thing. We deserve that we deserve that as the audience.
We need to also pull up. We need to also pull up how much cap space some of these teams have. But let's keep it moving. I mean, let's go to Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, 27 years old, played for the New York Giants, 14 games, 247 carries, 962 yards. That was an unimpressive 3.89 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns. He caught 41 balls for 280 yards and another 4 touchdowns. Obviously, one of the things with Barkley is his injuries. Every year he seems to get hurt. Well, not every year, but most years he seems to get hurt. And then his projected contract, though, is 3 years for $31.5 million. Obviously, I have a lot I could say about Barkley, but I'll let you guys talk first.
All right, I'll go. So Barkley's a very, very interesting free agent prospect. Obviously, he never lived up to his second round pick, like quote unquote, the next Barry Sanders. That's absolutely not true. So let's tell it that out a bit. Okay. So now let's go back to the Saquon Barkley we do know. I will say this: Saquon Barkley has improved his game. He has gotten better in pass protection. He's gotten better in running the ball downhill than he was. He is absolutely lethal when he's running the ball outside. Unstoppable, the best in the league, period. Okay. He also will benefit from a team in which they don't load up the box, where everybody knows your best player is your running back and we are going to stop him. He deserves a team where your best player is the quarterback and he will kill you downfield. I think he'll be good. And especially if he goes to a pass heavy offense, oh my gosh. I feel like he will get closer to the reason why he was drafted. Because he is an excellent receiver. He is an absolutely excellent player in space. If you throw him a screen, he's McCaffrey like. So I feel like with Saquon, the only thing is the injury, but it's just the luck of the draw. He's getting better. He's getting more durable. I can see it the way he's playing. So if I were him, I would not worry much about the money. I would worry about solidifying your legacy. The money will come because the more you get better, the more you showcase why you're special. Being in the Giants just allowed him to really show why he's special. If he goes to a really strong quarterback passing offense that have other weapons, that will absolutely show what makes him special.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and speak up. Well, first of all, I'm going to disagree with you, Olu, that you said that he shouldn't go for the money. The money will come, not for running backs. His time.
Well, you're right. You're right. Because
His time.
yeah,
yeah. His time is pretty much much done. Like I mean, unless like somehow he just go on these like crazy 1-year deals, right, and just kind of bet
don't go
themselves.
to New England if they pay you $15 million.
Yeah. But like the landing spot for him, I think would be the Houston Texans. I think that is a great spot for him to land, just because they're young, they're poised to win, they're poised for a deep playoff run. They need a solid running back. They have a great quarterback who can distribute the ball, can give him the rock as well too. I think Houston would be a great landing spot for him.
Well, the thing about the money for him, though, that has worked in his favor, and again, I'm our resident New York Giants fan, diehard New York Giants fan, because he was drafted so high, his rookie contract was $31 million for 4 years. And then last year, he signed another $10 million. So he's made a good deal of money already. I think the thing that has hurt him the most has been playing for a trash team. He's played for a team with a bottom 5 offensive line the last for his entire career. So it's not as if he's had the luxury of playing behind a line like Philadelphia's line or even what Jahmyr Gibbs inherited with Detroit. I mean, he came in with an aging Eli Manning and then got an overdrafted Daniel Jones. I mean, hey, I wonder if some of those injuries were real or if he was just like, man, forget this. These jokers stink. So I mean, when you're getting hit 2 yards behind,
I'm not wasting my energy on this.
Right, when you're getting hit 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage every play, it's like, what are we playing for? You're getting hit 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and your team is 4-10. Oh, coach, my ankle hurt. Like, what are we playing for? I feel bad for the guy. I want him to move on. Like, I want the guy to move on, and he's a good guy. I want him to experience an ounce of success. But yeah, put him somewhere. I would love to see him go with a team that has an offensive line. I would hate to see a guy like Barkley sign with someone like the Bears. The Bears have a lot of cap space. And they have a young running back in Roschon Johnson, but I would hate to see someone like the Bears or him sign with the Bears because he's chasing the money.
So you're saying, so basically you're agreeing not to chase the money?
I think he's made enough. I think he's made a lot of money. He's made $30 million already.
For a running back, well, he's made 40, right? 30 on the rookie deal, and then the franchise tag.
$40 million.
For a running back, that's a decent.
That's good.
5-year earnings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So he's made good money because he was the second overall pick. He can't help it that he was the second overall pick. They chose him there. So I think the reality is I would hate to see him. I think the guy, it's tough to see like what type of, where he's going to go. I mean, if he goes to a place like Houston, Lord have mercy.
Oh my, yeah. I mean, I feel like tons of running backs will be phenomenal in Houston, just the way that offense is built. And then it wouldn't just be you. They have Pierce, they have Singletary. I mean, actually, no, Singletary is a free agent as well.
Yeah, and Pierce, they've moved on from Pierce. They're not married to Pierce. But you put him somewhere like Houston. Like I said, Chicago's got a lot of cap space. It'll be interesting to see where Barkley lands. But I think he's worth a buy next year, especially if he gets somewhere that has a quarterback. If he goes somewhere that has a quarterback, if he goes somewhere that was successful, Barkley's he's a buy for me. But let's move on. Let's go to Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard last year, 17 games. So he played all 17. He had 252 carries for 1,005 yards, 3.99 per carry for 6 touchdowns. He also had 55 catches for 311 yards. Now, here's the thing. Tony Pollard was not efficient. 2 years ago, he was one of the most efficient running backs in the league. Last year, he was one of the least efficient running backs in the league. Matter of fact, last year, he had 60 more carries last year than he had the year before. All for him to have 2 less yards than he had the year before. His projected contract is a 3-year, $22.5 million deal. Will, you want to go on this first?
I will. I think that predicted contract is a little bit rich for what
generous.
For what Pollard brings. So I'm going to make a prediction here. I've seen some buzz around this, some rumors. I think Tony Pollard comes back home to Tennessee. He's born and raised in Memphis, went to Memphis for college. He signs with the Tennessee Titans. He's going to get a more generous contract there than he will for most places because they have the cap space. And he's going to be in a committee. I think Pollard's and he's a committee back from this point forward. We saw last year, again, one of the best offenses and best offensive lines in football. He's not a feature back. He's just not. He's not a finisher in short yardage goal line situations. And I'd love to see him come to my Titans and be in that committee with Tyjae Spears. Now, obviously, Tyjae Spears is also a smaller, agile speed back, can catch out of the backfield. So it's not like it would be a change of pace situation, but he could come in and spell Tyjae Spears. They could do some 2-back sets, which would make life a lot easier on Will Levis, second-year quarterback. And I think just going back home, it'd be nice to be back in Tennessee. So I think it is a fair thing to say that he could end up with the Titans next year?
So I am not big on Pollard. I think Pollard fooled a lot of people last year. And I believe his value's 3 years, 22.5 because 3 years because he's 26 years old.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have as much tread on the tires. But I think he fooled a lot of people because of his efficiency 2 years ago. But he showed everybody he can't be a feature back.
He is not a feature
And
back.
Right.
he's not a feature back. And what's so bad about it was he was on a team that was explosive. Dallas was explosive.
Well, I have a proposition or a thought. What if you take someone like Pollard and take him to 49ers?
Right, but
No,
either way, he's not going to be a feature back no matter what. And I would say I'm avoiding Tony Pollard in fantasy next year.
So I'm avoiding him, but I was saying, Olu, imagine him in a place like Tampa. You know, put him on a team like Tampa that has a running back. I mean, Rashad White wasn't that efficient, but so now you got two inefficient running backs. But now they can spell each other.
Imagine trying to trade Rashad White for a first round pick. My Lord.
Oh, watch the magic happen, Olu. It's only a matter of time.
Somebody will do it too.
I know I'm working some magic behind the scenes.
So, anyways, I see him going somewhere to a team that already has a running back in place, and then they utilize him in a committee. You know, utilize a guy like that in a committee. I think Tampa could be a good landing spot for him. I think Arizona could be a good landing spot for him. You know, a place like that. But
I like Arizona. I didn't think about them, but you know who else? I think a place like Los Angeles Rams would be a good landing spot.
Yeah, so the Rams are interesting because they have some space in the cap. They have $43 million of cap space as of right now before rookies are signed. So they have the money. Kyron was good.
Oh, I just thought Arizona might be good for him.
Yeah, and the reason why the Rams is that because so like Kyron wouldn't have to get all the carries. You could throw Pollard in there, to kind of dispel that. Plus, you can use them in the McVay passing game, right? It gives them more options. Like, I'm not looking forward to that, because I have Kyron on my team, but I think a good landing spot would be like a Rams or a Cardinals.
Yeah. What we'll do now is, for time's sake, the last guys we're going to talk about, we'll just breeze over them. If anyone wants to talk about any of these guys in particular, I mean, Austin Eckler is 28 years old, 14 games, 179 carries, 628 yards. That was an unimpressive 3.51 a carry for 5 touchdowns. He had 51 catches, 436 yards, and another touchdown. I think what's crazy about him is in 2021, he had 20 touchdowns. 2022, 18 touchdowns. 2023, 6. His projected contract is a 1-year, $4 million deal. I feel bad for the man. He tried to leverage a new contract over the offseason. He threatened to hold out. He didn't. He came back, and it blew up in his face.
Yeah. He seems so much older to me than 28 years old. Like, if I hadn't looked or, if you hadn't said that, I would have guessed he was 30 or 31 even. He just looked old last year. I think he's got to sign like a 2-year deal with whoever's going to give it to him. Try and be maybe a change of pace, like passing down back. I think he could still be a very effective third down back somewhere. Where they have, where they have like a bell cow running back who's not really much of a receiver. That's his best case scenario, but he's not getting a big contract. No way.
Yeah, I'm out.
He signs a good spot. It would be Kansas City.
Oh my gosh!
Because they have Pacheco,
who can
do the dirty work, right?
He would flourish.
Yes, that's a situation. Anyway, go
ahead.
If I
was expert to spite the league, to spite everyone, I will sign one of the Chiefs.
Yeah,
one of the best signing next year free agent signing, which no one is talking about, will probably be Ezekiel Elliott.
Zeke?
Oh no,
Look,
no. His
guys,
days are
okay,
long gone.
I know he was on a bad team last year, but Zeke is phenomenal. He played phenomenal game last year. He was really good last year, and he still has the juice. He still has everything. He was much better than most people. So I think he will be a really sneaky good signing next year.
I
Like
don't know, man. Zeke is his efficiency has gone down every year for the last couple years.
no, he was okay, guys. Check this out. He had 4.3 yards per attempt with the Patriots.
No, he had 3.49
Oh,
per attempt.
my bad. 3.5. 3.5. But with the Patriots, though, nonetheless, he had 600. Like, come on. Like, I feel like he'll be a sneaky good signing. He's really good in the. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott will always get you that 1 yard. Always. He will always get you to the end zone from the from the red zone into the end zone. He's one of the best pass protector in the game. So I think he'll be a really sneaky good signing for a team. Like, so a team will work
Okay,
out.
he has value. Yes, he has
I
like
think he's a
real
third
football
down back.
value, not
Yes.
fantasy
Oh,
Not
no, no,
fantasy.
value.
not fantasy. No, I wasn't talking fantasy.
No, not
Okay.
fantasy. He's a third
Not
down back.
fantasy.
Yeah, he's a third down back at this point. But let's move on. Lastly, DeAndre Swift. If anyone wants to talk about him, he's only 25 years old, man. DeAndre Swift is only 25. He played 16 games last year. Now, what was interesting was, though, he
He
played
good
on a
last
really
actually.
good fit. What's that?
He had a good year last year.
Yeah, 229 yards, 1,049 yards. I think what killed his fantasy value was every time the Eagles got in the red zone, Jalen Hurts tush pushed it in. And so
Oh
for
yeah,
that
I know you know.
reason,
I didn't
right, so
like.
for that reason, Swift only had 5 rushing touchdowns. But I think what also hurt him is because Jalen Hurts likes to run the ball occasionally. Swift had only 39 catches for 214 yards and 1 touchdown. Those were all career lows for him. All 3 of those numbers were career lows. The 39 catches, the 214 yards, and the 1 touchdown. But his projected value, his projected contract is 4 years, $22 million.
Wow, that's a
So his
steal.
right, so his projection is still a 4-year contract for 22. If I'm not mistaken, that might be similar to what like David Montgomery signed. But David
He's gonna have
Montgomery
a good.
and I think like a Miles Sanders. What's your guys' thoughts on Swift?
I
The
think he's gonna
last
have a. Sorry, go ahead.
no, don't say the last 3 years, 5 touchdowns rushing, 5 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. Last year was the only year in his career he broke 1,000 yards. So like, so that's interesting, right? But he also had 229 carries, and that's almost double than what he's had in previous years. So, which is interesting to think about him being 25. I guess he's only been in the league for 4 years. It feels like he's been here like 8 years, right? Just because he's just moving team
Yeah.
from one team to one team. Yeah.
He Oh, go ahead, Olo. I was gonna say the thing with Swift, he's not the biggest running back. But think about what happened with Miles Sanders when he was running the ball for Philly 2 years ago. He had the best year. Once Jalen Hurts started to take off, Miles Sanders had a career year.
Hmm.
DeAndre Swift goes to Philly. He has a career year. I think the guy has more talent than a Miles Sanders, but I think the thing that hurts, I don't know. I'm not crazy about DeAndre Swift, and that's coming from a UGA alumni. So I'll pass on Swift. I don't think he's a feature back, and I think he's played behind some of the best offensive lines. So I'm not big on that. If he were to go, imagine if a guy like DeAndre Swift signs with, wow, imagine if he signed with Cincinnati. Good night.
Hmm.
Or, oh, golly, that'd be nasty.
Could
But if a DeAndre
Swift
Swift,
be a guy that ends up in Houston if Houston doesn't want to break the bank for Saquon or Derrick Henry?
Yeah, I think any of those feature backs that we're talking about, this free agency, they will have a career resurgence in Houston. Like it's such a prime position for running backs. Like look at David Singletary last year. He's looking like so. David Singletary he couldn't, like, with the Bills. They were like, "Wow, you need a new quarterback in the Bills." He left the Bills and looked like the quarterback they wanted him to be in the Bills. So I think with Taylor Swift, he had a good year last year. The way he ran the ball was actually
What?
impressive. When
You
they,
call him Taylor Swift?
What? Hold on a second. With who?
Deion,
I said DeAndre Swift. You know, I was
No,
saying,
you said Taylor Swift.
I promise you, I can count how many times I've said her name in my life. But anyway,
Well,
let's move on.
add this one to the list because we all know what we heard. We all heard the same thing.
Okay, Carlos, let's move on. Billy, whatever. Let's move on.
I can't wait to get the recording.
But anyway,
put the captions on.
I feel like DeAndre Swift is gonna have, if he signs with a good team that can fit his skill set, he could have a good year. Last year he had a good year, and also last year he wasn't he was the primary runner. However, he got to share carries with two other running back most of the time, and that's why the Philly Eagles fans were like, "Give DeAndre the ball, give him the ball, give him the ball." They kept giving to Scott and someone else. I forgot who else was on the Eagles.
Probably Gainwell.
Gainwell, yes. So he was sharing the ball a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting as free agency opens up on March 13th to see what happens. But what we're going to do now is we're going to move to a new segment. We're going to talk about rookie profiles, okay? And over the next few months, we're each going to highlight one rookie. This is not, guys, just so we know, this isn't like debate or deliberate. It's just highlighting the guy. Why should we buy him? Why should we not? Let's try to keep each of these relatively short. But obviously, the draft is coming up. We're recording this on what's today? February 26th, 27th?
27th.
27th. The combine is in 2 days. Okay. So I'd like to know from each of you, well, if you guys have any tips you'd like to share on how you even evaluate guys, because I think coming into the combine, a lot of guys get hyped up, and the combine actually influences people's draft stock. Some of that's for the good, some of that's for the bad. Like we've seen guys like John Ross have an incredible 40 time, get drafted in the top 10, and then be absolutely nothing in the NFL.
Yeah.
And then there's been guys who had terrible combines. I think about Antonio Brown, terrible combine, but look what he did in his career. So I think there's obviously the combine. I don't put personally too much stock into it, but what do you guys think? Is there anything you'd like to share about the combine in general and even how to evaluate before we feature some incoming players?
Yeah. Yeah, it's combine is just for fun. It's just, for football fans to pass the time. For us, for fans. I'm sure this, the real NFL scouts get something out of it. But there's really nothing you can tell from combine except how fast they are. John Ross, the kid from Alabama, and Rice, that's the whole, what's his name, the linebacker in Arizona who ran a 4.3. Like, all those things are fun, but did I really tell you what is going to happen in the football field? I don't think so.
Nah.
I'm not a fan of playing against air, like watching how a quarterback
You're running without pads.
without pads, in like shorts, or how you could jump and catch the ball and stuff. So I'm like, it's like, how deep, like remember when what's his name, Zach Wilson was wowing guys in the pro day, throwing bombs.
Jamarcus Russell, right?
Marcus
day
Russell,
throwing from his
60
knees.
yards on his knees. Yeah.
yeah. So that's what I just think. It's just something fun to just say, wow, he can throw the ball. That's pretty much it.
I would say I think the combine is much more for the players than it is for the scouts or GMs. And specifically, it's for players from smaller schools who are just lesser known, right? Because the major prospects, guys that are going to be drafted first round or day 2, the scouts and the GMs, they already know
these guys.
all about them. Like there's not going to be a guy that shows up and runs a 40 or benches, whatever, 30 reps or something that they've never heard of. Okay. They know who these guys are. They've watched them on tape. And as far as the 40 time, they're clocking their speed in game. They're looking at this running back hit 22 miles an hour on 10 runs last year. Like they're looking at that. Okay. Cause that's game speed. But for lesser known guys from smaller schools, like a Demario Douglas, right? Last year out of Liberty, the combine can help. I mean, that's the type of thing that can put you on the map if you test well as far as like agility, vertical, all that kind of stuff, your strength, that can put you on the radar for these guys that are going to be 5th or 6th round picks. So I think it's more for the players than it is for the scouts or GMs.
Yeah, I think the players and the interviews are very important. Honestly,
that's true.
The drills, I'm with you, Will. I mean, these guys, it doesn't. DK Metcalf had an incredible historic combine. He has not been an incredible historic player. Like, yeah, he ran fast. Yeah, he did a lot of bench press. But at the end of the day, he wasn't even the best receiver in his class. So I don't put a lot of stock in it. The things that I look at most at the combine are honestly, what's your height? What's your weight? Because a lot of these schools are lying about it when they list these kids.
True.
Right? So I'm most interested in that because I don't want a running back that's under 190 pounds. I don't want that. I want a running back who could take a hit. I want to see. Now, obviously, the receiver position has changed. Like back in the 90s and the 2000s, you wanted a receiver to be over 6 feet, over 200 pounds because the game was more physical. Now you see smaller, more route technicians. Defenses can't touch them. So you're seeing guys like Jordan Addison and Tank Dell and these guys come in who are undersized and have an impact. What's that?
I was waiting for that for you to say like Tank Dell.
Tank Dell would not have lasted 15 years ago in this league. Not at 165 pounds. Not at all.
It's true.
And so you're seeing, and so it's different. But anyways, let's feature some guys. Let's talk. Okay. And as we talk about these guys, if we're mentioning anything about draft position for rookies, mostly this is dynasty content. And we're going to take into account a super flex model, which is starting a quarterback and then potentially another one in the super flex spot. So if we mention where you could potentially draft a guy, we're talking about dynasty format, or you could think of it as a rookie in your redraft. But obviously, you probably wouldn't want to draft any of these guys in the first round yet. But anyways, go for it. Shed, why don't you go first, man? Who do you want to talk about?
So I'm going to talk about someone who's not quite on people's radar, but will be Roman Wilson, wide receiver out of Michigan. Like this guy broke out his senior year at Michigan in a run-heavy offense. Because remember, Michigan runs the ball a lot. And here's the thing is that he took the Senior Bowl by surprise by his speed, by his route running, and his body control. And everybody was really impressed. And due to this, his Senior Bowl performance, some have even said he cemented himself into a top 75 draft status so far. He accounted for 50% of the team's receiving touchdowns last year. The guy just knows how to get into the end zone. His safety blanket, he was a safety blanket for J.J. McCarthy. He's Deebo Samuel-ish with the physique, routes between the numbers. He runs a sub 4.4 40, so he'll be one of the fastest wide receivers in this draft. And his stock is already slowly upticking. And I know that after the combine, even though we just talked about that it won't mean much, but I bet you after the combine, you see his draft stock soar just because of how much he runs and just his technician between the lines. So I see this guy as someone being a wide receiver that can make an impact in the NFL.
He made an impact in college, won a national championship.
He did.
Olu, who do you have, man?
Yeah, I have Xavier Worthy. So Xavier Worthy is a speedster. Like,
yep.
On the smaller side, he's 6'1", 172 pounds. Somebody, Stephen Smith described him as a taller Tank Dell. I don't quite agree with that. I don't think he's a Tank because I watch him play and he doesn't give me Tank Dell. Tank Dell was electric. He gives me a taller Addison. Think of Jordan Addison.
Interesting. That's a good comp.
That's a great comp.
Yeah, that's exactly when I watch him play. I'm like, bro, that is Jordan Addison, like to the T. So, but here's what's scary. In the fantasy draft, right? So he might be slated to go late first to mid second. But here's what might change the equation: his landing spot. If he lands in
KC
or Buffalo Bills, oh sorry guys, I'm taking him top 5. Like,
oh wow,
he's like, yeah. Can you imagine him landing KC?
No, he could be good. He could be good there.
He's gonna be he's literally gonna be the fastest player in the combine. He's fast. He's electric. He can run routes. He can do everything. And here's one way. I mean, like we're talking about, what do you look at when you evaluate players? Any player that has a breakout year in college in his freshman year, that means pay attention. And guess how old he is? He's only 20 years old. So
Yeah, he's
that means
young.
he's gonna get better. So he's a player of note. He's a speed. So I just think the biggest, like I said, the biggest defining factor would be his landing spot. And just to highlight some things, you know, one of his weaknesses is saying, he suffers, what's it called? It's not, he will have a better feel for sitting down in zones. It's like not, he has an issue with zones. He's better with man, but you can always learn that. He's 20 years old. So the sky is the limit for this guy. And I think, obviously, like most players, especially him, a biggest impact would be where he would land. If he lands in the right offense, even if it lands with the Chargers, even that is like it would be scary. So I'm interested to see where he would land and
Yeah,
just
you
what he
bring
would.
up an interesting comp with Jordan Addison because Jordan Addison was a guy that I wasn't big on coming in because of his size, but obviously I think size is it's not as big a factor as it used to be. But Xavier Worthy, what's interesting, the landing spots. You brought up a good point. I think this is good for the listeners when evaluating these college guys. Usually, the best prospects break out as a sophomore and then dominate as a junior. Xavier Worthy is a little bit special in that case where he was productive even as a freshman. But most of the model is you want to see them break out as a junior and then, or excuse me, break out as a sophomore and then dominate as a junior. That's typically what I want to look for these guys because most freshmen don't get the play time. But Xavier Worthy had
And
981 yards as a freshman.
yes,
That's amazing. So,
the
anyways,
only other player in this class that did that was Brock Bowers, and we know what kind of player is.
yeah, and I'm gonna talk about Brock in a minute, but why don't we go
Oh,
to the next one? Yeah, I'm gonna hit Brock. I'm gonna talk about Brock today. But Will, why don't you go, man?
Yeah, I'll go quick on this one. So this is a receiver who is definitely more talked about. He's got more hype than Xavier Worthy or Roman Wilson, and that's Troy Franklin out of Oregon. So he's a guy, if you're in a super flex rookie draft, he could be available in the 108 to 110 range, kind of the back half of the first round. But I would say the same thing about landing spot, depending on who drafts him. He legitimately has the chance to produce on the level of a Marvin Harrison or a Malik Neighbors in his rookie year in the NFL. And I'll tell you why. He's 6'3", 187. A good comp for him is he is a taller Devontae Smith. He's got elite speed, elite separation. He is a precise route
Whoa,
runner, and he just produces 81 receptions, almost 1,400 yards. He averaged 17 yards a catch and 14 touchdowns with Oregon in last year. So I think he's a guy that just gets open. Okay. He's got the speed, he's got the route running, and he's got the hands. So if he ends up with a quarterback that can just deliver it to him, he could be the wide receiver one on the whatever team he lands on and produce on the level of Neighbors and Harrison as a rookie. So he could be a steal at the back end of the first round of a rookie draft.
I have a question for you with that regards.
Yeah.
Is that who you're trying to pick up with my 109?
I'm not getting your 109. We've already tried this
No, you're
12
not, because
times.
I'm gonna get
yeah,
my Franklin anyway.
a lot of experts have Xavier. I mean, not Xavier Worthy, but Troy Franklin as the wide receiver 4 in this class.
Yeah,
Wow.
he's
Okay.
up there.
But
Yeah, he's up there.
the comp that I've heard for him, because I've actually not watched this tape. I don't know why, because I just never. I don't know why I've never watched this tape, because But his comp I heard was Michael Pittman.
But he's small. Pittman's a physical, 215-pound guy. Franklin's only 187. So he's skinny. He's very skinny for being
A lot of these
6'3".
guys these days are skinny. I just want to talk lastly. The rookie I want to talk about is tight end Brock Bowers from the University of Georgia. I mean, I've watched this guy since he stepped foot on campus
Me too.
as a UGA alumni, the illustrious University of Georgia. He's from Napa, California. But I mean, the guy's a 2-time national champ, but also a 2-time John Mackey Award winner, which is the most outstanding tight end in college football. He broke out as soon as he stepped foot on the field as a tight end.
Yes.
I think what's impressive about him, over the course of 3 years, 175 catches, 2,537 yards, 26 touchdowns. Here's the stat that's most interesting about him. His junior year, he only played in 10 games because of injury. 56 catches on 57 targets. 57 catches on 57 targets. 98.3% catch rate. His target shares, he was 20% his freshman year. 16.1 his sophomore, and then 12.5 his junior. He's an excellent receiver. He's a tight end that would line up, split end, even out wide. They even gave this man the ball in the backfield on reverses. I saw the man take a reverse and end around 75 yards.
Crazy.
What tight end does that? Okay. He's the highest rated tight end to come out since Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts has had like next to no impact on the field. Brock Bowers is not that. I'm always hesitant to draft a tight end in a dynasty league high, because typically it takes a tight end 2 to 3 years to have any kind of impact. But last year, Sam Laporta did something special.
Right.
Could Brock Bowers replicate what Sam Laporta did? I think so, as rare as it was, because Brock Bowers has already proven you could run the offense through me.
Absolutely.
And he did that on the best football team in college football for 2 years. 3 years. 2 years they were the best. It's a wide range of outcomes with Brock Bowers. He could go as high as number 5 to the Chargers, or he could go a little bit further back to, like, imagine if he went to the Bengals.
That's what I was about to say. The Bengals would be the perfect landing spot for him. Oh my gosh.
He's going to terrorize defenses.
Oh my God.
He's going to terrorize them. And I think if you're in a dynasty league, he should not fall any further than number 7.
I think the Bengals should move up to get him, because that could literally, think about it. The quote unquote 2 greatest quarterbacks we know. Guess one of the ultimate weapons they have in a good portion of their career, a tight end, a top tight end. I think Brock Bowers would be great with the Bengals.
He'd be great there. He'd be great. But anyways, so we're going to continue to have this segment for every recording for the next maybe few months or so as we feature different rookies going forward. But today we blessed you. We blessed you with Roman Wilson, Xavier Worthy, Troy Franklin, and tight end Brock Bowers.
A quick bonus where we just shoot. I just need to ask about someone. Hopefully maybe next episode. But Keon Coleman, what do you guys think about him?
Let's save it. Let's save it for next episode. Yeah, save it. I think Coleman's a whole other discussion. That would be great, though. But what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to do a 1-round pre-combine rookie mock draft. Okay? 12 picks. We're going to start with Shed, then to me, and then we're going to snake back to Shed, and then Shed's going to snake back to me. This is all in a vacuum. We're not going to start a dynasty league over this podcast. But who would you draft at this spot and why? Not considering who else is who you have on a roster, but let's just 12 best guys, And we're going to keep in mind, listeners, that we're doing this as a super flex format. So Shed, why don't you go first? If you had to pick one, who would you take?
Well, okay, so with this being a super flex league, like you said before, this is a very talented group of wide receivers. It makes us pick a quarterback, right? What's that?
2 quarterbacks?
Yes. Super yeah. Super flex. Yep. A very talented group of wide receivers. This makes this pick even a lot more easier to make. So number 1 overall on the board is gonna be Caleb Williams. But even without the wide receiver, even if this was not the case, he's a generational talent. His comp is Patrick Mahomes. When your comp is Patrick Mahomes, you need to draft this guy. So first pick, number 1 overall, Caleb Williams.
Okay, no brainer. Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not going to get into all the details. Let's just go.
All right. I'll keep it moving here. Even though it is super flex and quarterbacks at a premium, at 3, I'm taking Malik Neighbors because of the potential to get to a Jamar Chase level type of production.
I think what I love, I'm a believer in quarterbacks with rushing upside. And in a super flex format, you want quarterbacks. The last thing you want to do is not have a quarterback. And so I would have Jaden Daniels above Drake May because of the rushing upside. So at the 4th pick, I would take Jaden Daniels. And then at the 5th pick, again, because it's a super flex format, you want quarterbacks. And so I would, the temptation for me is to go Rome Odunze because I do believe he's very special. However, again, I would have to go with the quarterback. I'd have to go Drake May for that pick.
Wow. That's very high for May. I mean, even in these super flex mocks that I'm seeing all over, May is starting to slip a little bit. All right. Well, that's an easy one for me. Give me Odunze as the 6th pick here. Led the nation in receiving yards last year and 6'3", elite speed. He's a guaranteed producer in the NFL.
Yeah, Olu, you're up, man.
Okay, let's see. Franklin, let me think. I'll go Xavier Worthy just because everything we talked about.
Really? Ahead of Brock Bowers?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Xavier Worthy. This is interesting, right? Because I hope this happens in a real draft where guys fall to me like this. So yeah, I mean, we're just bigging up Brock Bowers, 3-year starter. The offense runs through him. Yeah. So for the 8th pick, 8th pick, give me Brock Bowers. I will take Brock Bowers, and then it snakes back to me, and I didn't expect for him to be there, which is great. And you know who I'm going to take? I'm going to take Brian Thomas Jr. 6'4", 205 pounds, right? So I think he's a prototypical measurables, but I think that he's going to be a good wide receiver. So I'll take Brian Thomas Jr.
Okay. So super flex, I got some receivers already. Let me just go. Okay, I'll just go to running. I'll go Trey Benson.
Oh, surprise pick. Why Trey Benson ahead of Jonathan Brooks?
Please explain that one.
Jonathan Brooks is the consensus number 1 almost.
He's too small for me.
Well, okay.
Because Trey Benson is faster and he's bigger. He's 6'2", 218 or 220 or something like that. And he's fast and he can catch. So basically he can do everything Jonathan Brooks can do except he's faster. And Jonathan Brooks played in the SEC. And so I'll go with Trey Benson. I'm sorry, Trey Benson played in the SEC.
No, so ACC. Is that what you said? The ACC. Florida State.
Oh, Florida State. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I just like him. He's bigger. He's faster. He can do what Jonathan Brooks can do. Jonathan Brooks is if you're running back who's under 200 feet or 200 pounds, he gives me Tony Pollard view. Basically, my comp for him is Tony Pollard. I don't like that.
All right. Well, you gave me a surprise player here. I didn't think he'd make it to 10. Give me Troy Franklin, wide receiver out of Oregon, the guy I profiled. Or 11th pick rather. That's a steal at 11. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's interesting at this pick at 12. I have 2 quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels and Drake May, and honestly,
quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Give me JJ McCarthy. No, this is a tough one. I'm not a big Keon Coleman fan. He's big guy. I'm not the biggest fan of him. Adonai Mitchell is intriguing at this spot.
That's high. That's high for Adonai.
It is, but I don't like Keon Coleman. I'm not a big Keon Coleman fan. I think it's too early for a Jalen Polk. I mean, Malachi Corley would be a reach. So, I mean, I would go honestly probably Adonai Mitchell.
What about a running back? What about a Blake Corum late in the first round?
Or Jonathan Brooks?
These running backs.
Yeah, or Jonathan
I just
Brooks.
don't like these running backs.
Audric Estime.
I just don't think that I don't think those guys are worth it. I would honestly go. If this was the pick and these are the guys available, I probably would go Adonai Mitchell.
So you think wide receiver number 6, whatever he is, 7 we've chosen, is better than running back number 2?
I do. Yes.
Okay.
I do in this class. I would go. Yeah. Why not? Yeah, why not? Because I mean, Corum's there, but you know,
Quam's vision is like elite vision.
It is. He's just very small, and he doesn't have elite speed either.
That vision and change of pace is incredible.
So to round out, so just so listeners, so you know how we did this pre-combine, we had Caleb Williams at 101, Marvis Harrison Jr. at 102, Malik Neighbors at 103, Jaden Daniels at 104, Drake May at 105, Rome Adunze at 106, Xavier Worthy 107, Brock Bowers 108, Brian Thomas Jr. at 9, Trey Benson number 10, Troy Franklin pick 111, and Adonai Mitchell at 112. We will revisit the mock draft after the combine in our next episode when we record. Oh, Olu, do you want to say anything before we sign off?
Oh, yeah. I'd just like to, Will, would you like to show the audience what kind of trade proposal you presented to me during the recording?
No, let's not bore them. Let's not bore them with this. Let Matt close it out.
It's okay. So we're able to give an example of a good and not good trade. Just only because you proposed it during this recording, it's only fair for you to share with them. Is there anything you rejected? So
during the recording.
All right, let me tell the audience this. If you put this trade into the keep trade cut trade calculator, it's a 100% fair trade. So the math checks out. Rashad White, the running back 4 last year in PPR for pick 109 and a future second. Very fair trade. You put that in any trade calculator, it's going to be even across the board.
So you would advise our audience to take that trade?
If you need a running back, if your best running back is Israel Abanikanda, yes. Yes, make a trade for Rashad White. To all the listeners, please do that. You need help.
Make a trade for Rashad White. And you know what? At that, we're going to go ahead and sign off. That was our pre-combine episode. We will be back after the combine to have some combine reaction, to feature more rookies, to have another rookie draft. We're going to keep this going. Your hosts, Shed, Billy the Kid, Olu, and Matt. We will see you next time. Peace.